Welcome, everyone, to Redacted on this Thursday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And on this show, we cover the stories the mainstream media largely ignores. We're going to talk about why RFK Jr. is going after Bill Gates' plants, people hidden throughout the federal government that have been basically stonewalling his policy. We're going to look into the details of that and how many more Bill Gates people are actually hidden within the federal government right now that we don't even know about.
Also, Canada is a crazy place. Alberta may actually, well, you already know this, not Canadians themselves, but their politicians are batshit. So we're going to talk about whether or not Alberta will actually secede from Canada, maybe become a part of the United States. This would be crazy. Also, is there a link between antidepressants and hormones and violence? There is. And in fact, the federal government is looking into it. Shockingly, RFK Jr. said that today. So we can say that.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I'm shocked that I can say it, and I've said it because this, in fact, is true. This is a known side effect of hormonal treatments. Also,
a man, he's gone viral. It's been seen over 5 million times now. A Canadian man was walking in the woods and fined $28,000 by the Canadian government from just hiking. Because, you know, Nova Scotia banned hiking. So because they think that sneakers can cause fires. What about the ATVs that ride through the forest? Those are fine because those, you know, the sparks that come off of those, that's totally fine. So we're going to have Jeff Evely on the show.
What's that? Lightning, trees.
Yeah, they're going to ban lightning next. They're going to ban everything. So we got a lot to get to today. But first, today is August 28th. And you know what that means. Someone is a little bit older today. And that someone is this lady right here.
Yes, I am.
Happy birthday.
So don't look at me. Yeah. Look at Philip. He never lets us see his face. Thank you so much. It is my 47th birthday
How does it feel? How does it feel? You feel good?
It feels good. It's a busy day. I was almost in tears earlier today, cried about all of our obligations for back to school and all of that. So hopefully I can relax a little.
I said it's your fault that you have a birthday that happens at the busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get one of those like Christmas time birthdays.
Right. So anyway, I share this with all Virgos. We run the world.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
And they love spreadsheets and they're kind of nuts.
A little bit.
Would you say a little nuts?
Yeah.
And you love
Manic,
spreadsheets.
Absolutely.
Manic.
Do I have a hair? It's like bothering me.
Okay. I don't see anything.
Just
a nose. I just see a nose.
I'm like this. Yes. Thank you. Happy birthday.
All right. We got a lot of news to get to. We got a lot of guests on the show today, too. So let's get started with our news roundup today. Well, something big is happening at the White House right now and in the Trump administration. The purge is on. Did you know that Death Eater Bill Gates had secret people or plants hidden inside the federal government pushing his vaccine agenda, among other things? I mean, all sorts of programs that he was involved with. Oh, yes, from getting rid of meat to mass vaccination of children's programs in sub-Saharan Africa. Well,
Can I just stop you here? We can edit this out later. Somebody said, "Happy birthday, Natalie Moore, hair dye." I don't color my hair. I had to respond to that. I don't do that. So take that back. You hurt my feelings. Other than that, I can handle the aging, but don't accuse me of things I have not done.
She cannot handle hair dye. She's like, God, that's such a bad hair dye job. When she can't handle it. All right, so no hair dye.
No, I don't do that.
All right.
Sorry.
All right, let's start over, shall we? Well, something big is happening at the White House right now. The purge is on. Did you know that Death Eater Bill Gates had secret people or plants hidden in the government pushing his vaccine agenda, from literally everything from like mosquitoes, manipulation of mosquitoes, to getting rid of meat, so you'll eat his fake meat product, to mass vaccination programs on children? Well, that appears to be coming to an end. At least maybe it's coming to an end. So a stunning political purge that sent shockwaves through Washington this morning. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been firing dozens of Bill Gates connected operatives from key federal health agencies, including the CDC, HHS, NIH. And according to multiple reports, this is nothing short of like a scorched earth policy coming from insiders at HHS, basically to dismantle what Robert Kennedy believes is a corrupt biomedical regime that has operated unchecked for years inside of the federal government, all under the influence of billionaire and Epstein buddy Bill Gates. So among the first to fall is this lady, CDC Director Susan Moneres. who was reportedly fired after being identified as a collaborator in what a lot of people are saying was a long-standing vaccine cabal inside the government. In total, 5 top CDC officials are now out, and the purge is expected to continue. This was just the first purging. So, you know, these like termites are like running for cover right now. These cockroaches are running for cover right now. Hans Menke described it perfectly, though. Menarez was Assistant Director of National Security and International Affairs in the Executive Office of under President Obama. It might sound harsh, but I wouldn't hire anyone who worked in Obama's White House. Why take the risk? And I know Laura Loomer had been calling out these people for a while. Like, why is President Trump why are you putting these people in here who are not on your side? These like Obama era people, Biden era people in positions of real power here inside the government. Like, this was a problem. Others have been calling this out as well. And so now, like, finally people are paying attention to these people. I think about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago on the show, we covered, about a year ago, because Trump wasn't nominated yet, or the nominee at that point. But the people that were burrowing in, do you remember?
Yes.
So they were all of these Biden era and Obama era people that were going to be burrowing into the administration and, you know, staying inside of the Trump administration. So anyway, looks like they're finally getting a handle on this. So this is funny, though, because apparently she was told to resign, but she wouldn't do it. Like, she was going to do it, then she's not going to do it. And then she was defying Secretary Kennedy's direct orders to fire swamp monsters who were big pharma swamp monsters that Kennedy was like asking her to fire, according to these reports. She wouldn't listen to her boss. I mean, that's like insubordination. So Trump fired her, by all accounts, but not so fast, because then she hired a powerful law firm in Washington, D.C., and her lawyer says that she's not been fired. This is crazy. Lowell and I represent Director Susan Menarez. Contrary to government statements, Dr. Menarez has neither resigned nor yet been fired. We have issued the following statement. First, it was independent advisory committees and career experts. Then it was the dismissal of seasoned scientists. Now, Secretary Kennedy and his HHS have set their sights on weaponizing public health for political gain and putting millions of American lives at risk. Right, okay. What about the millions of people that lost their lives as a result of the big pharma boondoggle? No mention of that.
Is this socialism? You can just not fire people? You don't have,
like, they're just like, I'm not leaving. It's like the guy from the movie Office Space, where he just like he doesn't have a job, but he just keeps showing up to work, and he's like, I was told that I could listen to music at a reasonable volume, and he's like in the basement with a pencil, you know, with a stapler. Well,
this statement is crazy because it's saying that she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives. Have you seen? I've spent the last 3 years going over what the lack of pharmaceutical trials for pretty much every new medicine to hit the market here on this show. And that has been nothing but reckless, the CDC, in the last at least 3 years since I've been doing Redacted. So that's crazy. I mean, rewind the tape, you guys, how they approved RSV vaccines for infants with the warning, don't give it to an infant if your infant's allergic to it.
COVID shots for pregnant women with no trials on pregnant women, no testing on pregnant women.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Philip or David.
I want to know what material their stamps were made out of going through all of that. Did they just now switched over to rubber, and that's what she's refusing? Because it sure seems like they were doing rubber stamping on an awful lot of vaccines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while Gates operatives, though, are being escorted out of the building, though, Bill Gates himself was being, escorted into the White House last night for dinner with President Trump. You can't make this up. No press, no visitor logs, no photos were allowed. Yes, the close friend of Jeffrey Epstein and vaccine pusher on unwitting Africans met with President Trump in a closed-door session that reportedly lasted 3 hours. Again, no press allowed, no photos allowed. Then on the very same day, the FDA quietly revoked emergency use authorization for mRNA COVID shots, only to then reauthorize them for infants as young as 6 months and the broader at-risk population. So in one afternoon, they pull it, then put it back. What the hell is going on here? The timing is no coincidence. And Secretary Kennedy said this: I promised 4 things: to end COVID mandates, to keep vaccines available to people who want them, demand placebo-controlled trials from companies, and to end the emergency.
Okay, but these things are contradictory, and I wrote this out in the newsletter if you'd like to refer to it, because he's saying, I'm ending emergency use for the broader population, but the FDA issued an approval for people who are 65 or over with a pre-existing condition. Now, Pfizer wrote this in their press release about it. They're saying that the COVID vaccine from Pfizer was approved based on the, listen to it, this is how they do a slide of words, based on the, quote, cumulative body of evidence supporting the safety and efficacy of the Pfizer COVID vaccine, including clinical trial data supporting the approval for children 5 through 11 years of age. Now, see what they did there? It's not based on clinical trials, which he just promised in that tweet. It's based on the idea of a clinical trial, not a direct clinical trial. So in the same tweet, he's saying, I'm revoking this for the general population. I'm putting full authorization for these populations, but they are not, I repeat, not based on clinical trials. They're based on the cumulative body of evidence. So they're just like pulling pages out of a book and sticking it together and saying, this is good. This is what we can use. That's not what we were promised, and you know it.
Yeah.
You know it.
So again, Bill Gates in the White House, these weird approvals coming through. I don't know. We'll see exactly what happens, but we'll be watching that story.
Indeed. All right. Oh, are you gonna?
Yeah, let's talk. No, keep going. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead to Wikipedia. Go ahead to Wikipedia. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently said that 60% of those who post critical things about Israel are bots, especially in America. And he said, we have to contend with it. That was a foreign leader saying that he wants the algorithm manipulated in America to favor his country. Now, we are not supposed to want that. Recall, we were told that President Putin did this personally by putting bots on Twitter and manipulating the algorithm by pro-Russian accounts, and we were supposed to be terrified about him and pissed off. But when Netanyahu says that, our Congress takes that as an order, and they do it. So the House of Representatives took that cue, launched an investigation into Wikipedia for what they allege are, quote, efforts to advance anti-Semitic and anti-Israel information in Wikipedia articles related to conflicts with the state of Israel. Why is this a matter for U.S. representatives of Congress? Why would U.S. lawmakers concern themselves with how Israel is represented on the internet? Shouldn't it be their job to safeguard American interests, not police online narratives about a foreign government?
I don't want them policing anything. When the government gets involved in policing anything or telling us what we're allowed to read on the internet,
right?
Like, I don't care. Don't tell me what I can read about America. I want to know everything. I want all information.
Right. And this is their first foray into Wikipedia. Did you see it during COVID?
I mean,
come on.
Wikipedia is one giant butthole. Like if anyone uses Wikipedia to get information, they need to be brought out in the back of a shed and shot.
Right, but we should have the right to make it a butthole. And then we decide for ourselves. I don't want Congress making it not a butthole. Sorry, Philip.
Oh no, isn't there like one guy like responsible for like something like 6 million articles or something stupid like that? Like there's one guy is like this super editor on Wikipedia. So basically Wikipedia is that guy.
Yeah.
Right. Is it Netanyahu?
Oh my God.
All right. Well, it doesn't
Putin.
stop there. I mean, it's outrageous that they're saying that we need to stop anti-Israel or coverage. How did they put it? Or Wikipedia articles related to conflicts with the state of Israel. So Israel is blameless in every conflict it gets into. And so when a Wikipedia article talks about some conflict, such as the double tap of the Gaza hospital this week, that can't be anti-Israel. So they want, that's 1984 level retelling of facts and history and modern life. I can't take it. It doesn't stop there. A school district in California just voted to display the Israeli flag on all campuses and district facilities in an effort to, quote, fight anti-Semitism. Public education buildings in the United States in this district are now required to fly a foreign flag. School board members say this is necessary because, quote, Jews are being killed and slaughtered on the street and threats are happening. But if murder is the metric we're going by, the Palestinian flag should be displayed too, right? If that's what we're doing. I mean, I know so many of them displayed a Ukrainian flag for those mass deaths. Okay, if that's what we're doing, right, the metrics don't make sense. You may ask a question, is this legal? Didn't President Trump instate a one flag policy? He did, but that only relates to the State Department and U.S. embassies. And specifically, it was aimed at making sure that these embassies didn't fly pride flags or Black Lives Matter flags. No state or local law exists about flag display, so a school district or a state can, in fact, do this. But the question is, will it in fact combat anti-Semitism? In my opinion, no. This is something Tucker Carlson said recently, that this radicalizes people when they see our representatives and our government bending over so far back for another country. It's so irrational to put any restrictions on our rights for another country's image. It makes no sense other than political capture. There's no other explanation. And I think that what is happening is that it fuels resentment and division and the very hostility that it claims to oppose. Let me know what you think of that.
Well, some disturbing new updates on the trans mass shooter in Minnesota. A psyop, perhaps? Who knows? But as journalist Whitney Webb has been warning us for years that the government is trying to push us into a pre-crime authoritarian surveillance state using the likes of Peter Thiel's Palantir and others. Think of it like a Minority Report, biosurveillance state. We're going to watch and monitor everything you do, put us under a permanent state of surveillance. So it's very curious that when this happens on the very same day, and the cozy relationship that the Trump administration has with Peter Thiel. We know the money that, of course, J.D. Vance has also received from Peter Thiel and the folks from Palantir, that Melania Trump tweeted this about pre-crime. The tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying potential school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident, with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors and making violent threats online prior to their actions. If only we had some sort of brains like Palantir that could find out all of this information ahead of time, and know about it. So to prevent future tragedies, it's crucial we look into behavioral threat assessments across all levels of society, she writes, beginning in our homes, extending through school districts, and of course social media platforms. Being aware of these warning signs, acting quickly, can save lives. Okay. Well, it's all very convenient and it might sound fine. Maybe you're just reading too much into that statement, perhaps. What's even more convenient, though, is that we learned about an hour ago, thanks to some great work by Alex Jones, turns out that the shooter's father worked for 29 years as a top contractor for the CIA and the DOD.
No.
You cannot make this shit up. Watch.
James Westman, let's read about him. Very interesting. Senior application developer at Esri. What is Esri? Well, Esri is the leading original geospatial, satellite ground mapping, GPS, coordinate system for the Pentagon, Google, and everything else. He's been working there since 96, 29 years, 7 months. And at a whole bunch of other very interesting places. The GIS for Defense and Intelligence. Here's the company, the hands-down leader in all of it. Esri is a global leader in geographic information systems, GIS software, and has various contracts with the U.S. government agencies, including the Central Intelligence Agency and the Department of Defense through GSA, schedules, enterprises, license agreements.
All right, so, you can't make this up. And there's a lot of similarities to other shooters and people who've worked at high levels of the U.S. intelligence community. Mass shootings, connections, of course, to the intelligence community in the United States. Again, coincidence? I don't think so, but we're going to continue to dig on this story. We've got a lot more news to get to here on your Thursday. On Natalie Birthday Thursday, we're going to talk about Alberta moving forward with its plans to secede from Canada. Will it join the United States? Meanwhile, Mark Carney is flying to Ukraine once again to glad hand and kiss the ring of Zelensky, offering up more support and weapons and money, God knows what else. And we've got a lot of questions of what's going on in Canada today. David Creighton is going to be joining us here in a moment to talk all about that. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at Shopify, because if you have a dream to launch yourself to the world and launch an online store, Shopify is definitely where you need to go. What you're looking at right there is the Redacted store. It absolutely runs on Shopify. We were very happy Shopify customers. Anytime we want to put something on the Redacted store, like a new mug or a new t-shirt, we can do so easily with Shopify because they handle it all for us. Even e-commerce, when you see that little purple checkout button, you know that the store that you're on runs on Shopify, and they take care of it, from handling payments, e-commerce, all of your supply management, everything. Shopify really does it from soup to nuts, and they make it beautiful, so you don't need to worry about graphic design or anything like that. They can help you. If you get stuck, Shopify is always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. So turn those dreams into cash and give them their best shot with Shopify. You can sign up for a $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/redacted. Again, go to shopify.com/redacted for that 1 month trial period today. Shopify.com/redacted. And I put this up before. You might not have seen it here, but thank you for the $15 super chat from Snowy. Natalie Freedom Forever wishes you happy 47th birthday. Happy birthday. Thank you. Also, somebody said if Natalie doesn't color her hair, Clayton does. No, I don't. We don't use hair dye in this house or have a hairdresser. You can see tons of gray in my hair. Yeah, so. And I have some too. We're not against it. Do what you want. But yeah. I was thinking if I got like a mustache or a beard, because that gets all gray. So might come in kind of gray. Then I might do that, like do the thing. But yeah. I've never done that. That would encourage me. That would invite me to grow a beard, and I don't want to do that. It's too itchy. All right, let's talk about Canada, shall we? Clooney, yeah. All right, Alberta, Canada, is one step closer to breaking up with Canada. The province is seeing a tidal wave of pro-independence momentum. Not fringe internet chatter, by the way, but a full-on political groundswell backed by voter support, legislative changes, and active referendum planning, of course, that will push into 2026 when that vote happens. And Premier Danielle Smith says she's never seen separatist sentiment this high. Thanks to a bill that was quietly passed this spring, Albertans could trigger a full-blown referendum on independence with just 177 signatures. A number of organizers say they're well on their way to reaching that goal. And what is Ottawa doing about it? Well, pretty much nothing, of course. Right now, Prime Minister Mark Carney just boarded another jet to Kiev. He's hanging out with Zelensky over there for I think it's the third time this year now, ignoring all of the problems back home in Canada. Journalist David Creighton joins us from Ottawa. He's not leaving the roost. He's still in Canada, and he's fighting the good fight. Host of Creighton's Right on YouTube, and he's a watchful eye, an independent voice up there in Canada. David, great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Always nice to be back, and happy birthday, Natalie.
Thank you so much.
So I want to talk about this movement here, this Alberta movement first, and there's a lot of stories I want to get to here, but in the minutes we have, it seems to be growing, and this isn't just like internet chatter anymore. There seems to be a real momentum behind this, and this idea that Alberta could become the 51st state of the United States of America, low taxes, not have to deal with all of the green energy weird policies that's hurting farmers in Alberta and everything else. So what do you make of the latest moves here on the Alberta Freedom Movement?
This has been largely engineered by the Alberta Prosperity Project, and they have done a fully comprehensive economic costing of what an independent Alberta would mean. And it looks extremely well for this potential independent province, or if it decides to become incorporated into the United States, I think Americans would welcome that, because this is an energy-rich province that contains most of the economic activity of Canada right now. Is this a serious referendum coming? Is this a serious movement towards independence? Absolutely. Polling suggests it's at least 50 to 55%. The momentum has not been stopped by the election of Mark Carney. If anything, it's been accelerated by the election of Mark Carney. And you can certainly see that this is no longer a fringe movement, because Albertans and Western Canadians have talked about separation, about independence for decades, ever since Pierre Trudeau was prime minister. This is the first time I have ever seen the numbers this high, the viability of independence to be this possible and this potentially real. And I've never seen the argument so strong. But I have to say, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is doing everything she can to understand why Albertans continue to want independence. And she's holding a series of town hall meetings. But you know what? The questions that she's answering in many cases are fueling the anticipation or expectation of independence, because she was at a town hall this week and she was asked about equalization payments, or an indirect question about that. And of course, for those of you who don't know, that's when Ottawa extorts money from so-called have provinces to dispense it to so-called have not provinces. And the federal government is extorting $25 billion a year from Alberta to give to other provinces, largely Quebec. So Quebec can then turn around and decide how it wants to spend Alberta's money, largely on social programs, because Quebec refuses to use the oil it's sitting on, unlike Alberta. So when she was furious about this at a town hall meeting and saying, why can't we lower taxes anymore in Alberta? Why can't we spend more money on the public school system? Because Ottawa is extorting $25 billion a year from the taxpayers of Alberta. And when she talks like this, of course, people are saying, well, why do we want to stay in Canada where we have such a thing as equalization? Because it's not going to change under the Mark Carney Liberals or any foreseeable Liberal government. And of course, the Conservative Party of Canada supports equalization as well, because they want the votes in Ontario and Quebec, which are beneficiaries of equalization. So the questions that are being asked, the problems that are being presented point towards the viability of an independent Alberta. And that's the situation right now. And whether it stays as an independent, autonomous province or whether it joins the United States, these are things that were at one time unthinkable, just couldn't happen. But they are now entirely possible because of the breakdown in Canada as we used to know it, and the authoritarian style of the Liberal government under, first of all, Justin Trudeau, and now under Mark Carney.
But it feels like we've been tossed about in a laundry machine. You know, are we friends with Canada? Are we not? How do Canadians feel at this point, given that, you know, the tariff war has not been settled and we're just not sure from one day to the next what our relationship is? And so is there still an anti-American sentiment inside Canada by and large?
I would say that anti-American sentiment was always greatly exaggerated.
Oh,
but what's increasingly obvious is that Mark Carney lied about his intentions of dealing tough with Donald Trump. He knew he was not going to get tough with Donald Trump. And he knew, secondly, that retaliatory tariffs are bad news for Canadians. All they are is more taxes. And Canadians are amongst the most heavily taxed people in any democratic country. So Carney knew he wasn't going to do this. He was elected under false pretenses. He promised that he was going to get tough with Donald Trump and issue retaliatory tariffs, which he knew would not be good news for Canadians, for Canadian consumers. And he essentially last week admitted, hey, I made it all up, folks. I wasn't ever going to get tough with Donald Trump. We just love Donald Trump. We love the American people. We have the best free trade deal in the world. And I guess I kind of exaggerated things during the election, but hey, it was for the benefit of my winning this election. Everything Mark Carney does is for the benefit of enriching himself.
So is that also the case with his trip to Kiev, to Ukraine once again, to glad hand with Zelensky? What the hell is going on there while Canada is in real trouble, sending billions more to Ukraine?
Well, Mark Carney has dispensed $6.6 billion to Ukraine since becoming prime minister. And I think he's trying to catch up with Justin Trudeau in terms of his track record there. But once again, there's this bromance going on between Mark Carney and Zelensky, the same way Trudeau was just enamored with Zelensky, and it was apparently returned. But what's going on here is the question, Clayton and Natalie, is because here we have Mark Carney in Ukraine talking about being a guarantor of Ukrainian sovereignty, whatever that means. Now, does Canada suddenly think it has such a military presence that is going to stand up to whatever Russian demands are? Or secondly, is he talking about some kind of peacekeeping force in Ukraine, which a guest on your show last night said would basically be suicide because the Russians are never going to allow NATO troops in Ukraine. It's not going to happen. Or is Mark Carney talking about some kind of war with Russia, the way that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has talked, or French President Emmanuel Macron? Both of them have talked about going to war with Russia as a guarantor of Ukrainian sovereignty. So his talk is increasingly alarmist. And it's once again, just like the Europeans are talking about war as a distraction from their economies, which are all in a catastrophic state. Mark Carney is using the Ukrainian distraction in the same way. So Canadians don't think about how bad the economy is right now and how near we are to economic catastrophe. Better have people think about some sort of war with Russia or peacekeeping in Ukraine, which of course is a delusion. It's never going to happen. But it's not that Mark Carney is a stupid man. He's a clever globalist who is edging Canada ever closer to Europe, even as he pretends to be very, very close to Donald Trump and very, very close to our American allies. And he is edging closer to a globalist relationship. And that's what Mark Carney's always been about as the international banker. He has an agenda. He's working towards it. And at the same time he's working towards it, he's continuing to alienate small c conservatives in this country and most of all the province of Alberta.
Well, as Canada slips towards communism and its cozy relationship with the communist lifestyle, Canada is on the chopping block once again. David, great to see you here. Thank you so much for joining us. And coming up, we're actually going to talk about, we have another good Canadian from the People's Party who's running for the People's Party who was just fined $28,000 for just walking in the woods in Canada.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good story.
Yeah. So we got a lot of Canada news on the show today.
It's incredible because I have talked about this. I've written about this for various publications, but it's incredible. We've come to this in Canada where you cannot go for a hike in the woods because somehow that's a fire hazard. And this is COVID pandemic number 2. It's nothing about safety. It's about control, government control over how we think, what we do, and where we even can walk now. And this is what Canada has become all about. So I'm sorry to go on again about that, but that's, you're going to have a great interview with this guy because this is a courageous man. Courageous man.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Well, thank you for being courageous and keeping an eye on, the tyranny that is coming in Canada right now. David Creighton, always follow him on Creighton's Right. All the great work. I'm sorry we're out of time today. We get such a busy show for you today. But David, thank you, and great to see you as always.
Thank you again. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, David.
All right. Coming up, we're going to talk about the link between antidepressants and violence. It exists. We are allowed to say this, apparently, because HHS Director Kennedy did say this. So we're going to continue to follow this, even though we have been saying it for years here on Redacted, because it's on the label. So we're going to do that. Before we do that, though, we want to tell you about our friends over at Genucel, because, of course, summer is here, and so are those dark spots and sunspots and other blemishes that the sun leaves behind. Until now, Genucel has a dark spot corrector that visibly fades away dark marks, sunspots, scars, and other signs of discoloration on your skin. It's formulated with the patented LumaSkin, which is a revolutionary new ingredient, and Genucel's Genyacel's legendary base shown to visibly reduce age spots, sunspots for an even tone and brighter, more youthful look. You'll be amazed at how quickly you'll see results. And now you can enjoy the summer sun, beach, and barbecue without those pesky spots. And you'll see the results or your money back, no questions asked. Right now you can get this dark spot corrector with every Genyacel complete skincare package for only over 70% off. If you enter our code redacted at checkout, you get this extra discount. It's world-class skincare that works, guaranteed, or your money back. So right now go to genyacel.com/redacted. Again, use the code redacted, get that 70% off the package that includes this corrector, genyacel.com/redacted. Plus you'll get 2 bonus gifts and free shipping with a free spa box, genyacel.com/redacted.
Well, the man that shot up a Catholic school in Minnesota, killing 2 Christian children, injuring many others, wrote in his diary that he, quote, was tired of being trans and that he wished he never brainwashed himself.
This tracks with the research that we have shown you, and if you had read the CAS documents and the other scientific documents and the whistleblower, we've shown you this before.
Yeah.
That a lot of times when you lock a kid in, as simple as just using their new name, that locks them into a path that they don't know how to get out of, and it does not resolve their mental health discomfort. We told you so. Sorry. Couldn't help but say that we told you so.
No, you're an equal member of the show, so continue.
Oh. Wait, we showed you that. Okay.
All right, so questions.
I got lost because I got mad. I got mad because we've known this about these kids. It's like they dig their heels in and they do things that are so dramatic and they make everyone around them bend over. And no one says, you don't know what you're going to want later on. You might want to hold off. And his writing, in fact, showed that he said, well, I just got to keep my hair long because I've gone too far now and it would be embarrassing to turn back. So you have not, in fact, accepted your kid if you have pushed them into this or allowed them to go this far into something they can't back themselves out of. So yeah, I'm upset about it. Meanwhile, questions are swirling about what type of, if any, hormones was this person on? Because we know that cross-sex hormones have all manner of contraindications, including suicide thoughts, thoughts of violence, things like that. And then was he further on antidepressants, the SSRIs, which we also know are related and associated with and have label warnings of violence and suicidal thoughts.
And almost every mass shooting in this country over the past few decades have had 2 common denominators: antidepressants, and they were trans. Here's just a sampling of the trans shooters that we've seen in the United States over the past few decades. Can we finally have a discussion about this and stop defending Big Pharma? Well, Brian Kilmeade actually asked Secretary Kennedy that very question this morning. Watch.
We're still trying to get a lot of answers to a ton of questions. But the one thing is clear. You are dealing with a person who's trans, that was transitioning. Are you going to be examining at all some of the drugs that are used in order to make that transition happening, to see if it plays a role? Because we also know there was a trans shooter in the Tennessee situation.
Yeah, we are doing those kind of studies now at NIH. We're launching studies on the potential contribution of some of the SSRI drugs and some of the other psychiatric drugs that might be contributing to violence. Many of them on there have black box warnings that warn of suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation. So we can't exclude those as a culprit, and those are the kind of studies that we're doing.
All right. Well, Bob Schwartz is an adverse event survivor, the founder of A Better Bob, and he's been sounding the alarm about the connection between antidepressants and mass shootings for years. Bob, thank you so much for joining us. At least now this is part of the conversation. We have the normal Democrats and guns, right? But now there's this, and we have not seen this before. So are you encouraged by this, and would you like to say I told you so?
Oh, absolutely. First off, guys, thanks so much for having me, and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. Yes, 21 years ago, I suffered an adverse event from a simple doctor's appointment. where I was prescribed a psychostimulant, which is an ADHD medication. Never had any kind of history of mental illness or focus issues, but I told my doctor I was a little bit off my A game as far as focusing. And in that appointment, he gave me a prescription for a drug called Concerta. He asked me how much I weighed, and which I thought was unusual for those kind of drugs. I found out later, and he gave me a prescription at 54 milligrams when the starting dose for that drug is 18. I took the drug for 5 days, and life has never been the same. I was one of the top technology guys in Atlanta at the time, living a life of utopia, married, 2 kids. Again, just having a fantastic career. And 5 days later, I had an acute psychosis. And if you need a visual of what that's like, it's very similar to A Beautiful Mind. And 2 years later, I lost everything: my family, my home, and my reputation. And in the meantime, I tried to get in touch with everybody to get help, or at least let everybody know about what was going on, as far as something was off. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Can somebody please help me? I got in touch with the FDA. I got in touch with Johnson & Johnson, the drug manufacturer. I got in touch with the Georgia Medical Board, and numerous times going on back. And basically, I was neglected. I was abandoned, and I was ghosted. And it wasn't until 5 years ago during the pandemic that I knew that I had to do something unconventional to let the public know about what happened to me. So I teamed up with an Emmy award-winning director, and we did a 30-minute documentary that won a Telly Award out in New York out of 15,000 entries. And it goes through the whole 21-year experience that I had in regards to that psychostimulant, and obviously we've been able to combine it with the SSRIs, but we've been able to make the link that this is probably the root cause or the common denominator behind all of these mass shootings that are going on.
Yeah, I mean, we had so many people when we covered the story yesterday here on the show after the shooting happened. So many people in our chat room. We've got tens of thousands of people watching us live. So many people said, I tried antidepressants and it made me suicidal and I had to get off of them. I went kind of crazy. So many people over and over. And actually, let us know right now in our comments, how many of you tried some sort of an antidepressant, some sort of an SSRI, something like that, where it triggered just a absolute, crazy episode or suicidal tendencies. We've interviewed a woman here who lost her husband, totally normal guy, he was a little anxious, so they prescribed an SSRI, and she found him hanging dead in their house afterwards. And she's on a mission to, to also end this.
You're talking about Kim Witzak?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is this any shock when you see the discussion now about the shooter yesterday and you hear his rambling videotape where he's just saying he's got bugs under his skin and he wants to shoot the president and all of these other things? Does it track? Yeah, does it track
with what you know about these drugs?
Well, and that's where my experience is kind of almost like firsthand. A lot of people have to experience this from a third party. I went through all the worst side effects you could possibly ever go through with these drugs. I went through almost harming myself, and it was. And again, I was trying to let everybody know, and it's well documented. I was trying to let everybody know what was going on with my life. And people got to realize that the main side effects of these drugs is homicidal and suicidal thoughts, or more or less thought disorder or faulty thinking. That's the scariest part of those drugs. And when you're going through those kind of thoughts, and then you're filled with apathy, on top of that, and paranoia, it's a very dangerous situation.
One person in our chat room just said, sorry to interrupt, but just said he was prescribed an antidepressant in the Army, and he nearly died as a result of it. In the Army allows the prescriptions of SSRIs, and on the black box warning of it says...
But let's talk for a second about what we know about this, because these are documented in the trials. So when these things are observed by Big Pharma, why are they not flagged? Is a black label enough? Because I don't think that parents or, young people can give consent to this when this information is not front and center.
Yes, it's highly unusual, and the big pharma companies know this is going on, but they choose, they choose to again abandon, neglect, and really ghost you on that situation. Johnson & Johnson reached out to me in 2019 when they knew that, and they promised me a full investigation from 2004, and it's well documented in the documentary film. And they realized the doctor prescribed the drug at 3 times the starting normal dose, but they don't want to help me. And that's the problem. They don't want my story out there in the public, and that's why I've got this redemption story going on, and I tie a lot of spiritual redemption to what I'm trying to do. And at the end of the day, I want to stop what happened yesterday. I want to stop the unspeakable hardship that's happening to good people and their families.
How difficult a task will that be, do you think? I mean, you're up against a behemoth, Big Pharma. I think obviously the tax is going to be bigger, but my God's bigger. So I'm basically looking on that calling, and I know we'll get this done, because you look at in history, in 1920, leaded gasoline was known to cause neurological damage to people, and it was creating crime in cities, and they knew about this until 1973. When Congress got together and they restricted leaded gasoline and to go unleaded, and it took till 1996 until we got all the lead out of gasoline. I think we got kind of a similar situation that is going on here, and I think until we can prove that the return on health on these drugs is just not there. And we have to regulate. We got to regulate the medical industry. There's more regulation in the financial industry to deliver ROI than there is in the medical industry to deliver ROH. And which one's more important? Yeah, right.
Right.
Exactly.
Have you ever read the work of Thomas Szasz? He's one of the fathers of modern psychology, and he warned that the pharmacratic state would expand. They would continue to have control over you. And these drugs would be one way. And I mean, he was warning this in the 60s and the 70s. And it's happened. So it was so prescient to read his work. And we're here now. And we have to decide whether or not, because again, this is another way the government can say, you need this. Sorry, your mental health is an issue. You belong to us now. And there's no control of your own life based on this promise that's not even there.
Yeah.
So we've been walking this wrong path for decades.
Absolutely. This is the 20th anniversary of the Tom Cruise, Matt Lauer interview, where Tom Cruise came out and said, if we keep going down this path, we're going to be living in a brave new world. And he was spot on 20 years ago.
Here we are.
And he almost lost his career and everything over that interview with Matt Lauer.
And he's been vindicated. I know that that video has surfaced again over the past couple of years, and it's amazing. He was absolutely spot on. Well, Bob, thank you so much for coming on the show. Bob Schwartz, adverse event survivor, founder of @BetterBob, A Better Bob. You can find it on Twitter @ABetterBob. Thank you so much, Bob. Great to hear your story. Thank you for sharing it with us.
The documentary and the movie and the website is at www.risk. RXISKS.org. That's RXISKS.org. And you can go on there and you can watch the 30-minute award-winning documentary film.
Wonderful. Okay, we'll make sure we share that out with the audience as well. Thank you so much, Bob. Really appreciate your time. We know you got to run.
Thank you, guys. Godspeed.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
You know, I had a childhood friend back in the 90s, got put on something like that, plucked out every single one of her eyebrows, and we're like, is this better? This is like, yeah, she.
It happened to me. That's actually why I was on delayed enlistment in high school. I had already gone through MEPS, all of that stuff. I was going to go to the Army in EOD, but because the year prior my mom had put me on the ADHD medicine, and I had such a bad reaction to that, it like messed me up so bad. They put me on other medications to kind of counter that medication. And then eventually through like the cocktail, I was literally like half mad. So they put me on antipsychotics. And because I had taken antipsychotics, I could not get security clearance in the military. And so then I ended up having to kind of like right as I was graduating, I found out that I like basically my military contract, the delayed enlistment, was null and void because I couldn't get security clearance, which I couldn't do EOD.
And yet, if you had gone into the military, it's possible they would have given you this anyway, right?
Seems like it now.
Yeah. Which is just crazy.
It's crazy. The military is like one of our guests was saying that, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. We've got more news to get to. We're going to look at Canada and why, if you just go hiking in Canada, you could be fined up to $28,000. That's exactly what happened to our next guest, which has gone viral. It's been seen over, I think, 5 million times at least on his post.
People can't believe it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just walking in the woods because your sneakers could cause a forest fire? Really? Canada has lost its ever-loving mind. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But first, I don't know if you saw the price of silver today, over the past couple of days, skyrocketing. Obviously, President Trump has declared it a vital natural resource for the United States, vital natural interest for our national security. And you see what's happening with the U.S. dollar. The Fed is about to cut interest rates in September, further devaluing the U.S. dollar. And President Trump is on record saying that he loves a strong U.S. dollar, but he said it again last week, that he thinks a weakened U.S. dollar allows us to make more money as a nation. What that means is that your U.S. dollar, if you have it in savings, is going to go down. So if your family's future is tied to a savings account with U.S. dollars, that is not good. I'm just telling you, the president has said it. The Fed is about to slash interest rates. It's coming. No matter how you slice it, it's coming. The U.S. dollar is going to be devalued more. That's the only way they can really save this thing at $37 trillion in debt. That's what's happening right now. That's why so many central banks are buying as much gold and silver as they can get their hands on right now. That's why President Trump just declared silver a vital national resource, precious minerals resource. And that's why Natalie and I are such big advocates of investing in precious metals. And I don't care where you do it. I mean, if you do it at your local shop, I don't care. But I can tell you where we do it. We do it with our friends over at Lear Capital. They're a fantastic American company. And there's no obligation. Just get on the phone with them and have a conversation. You know, no pressure at all. They're a great American company, and they're an education-first company. So if you don't know anything about buying precious metals, you're totally ignorant about it, you've never bought gold coins or silver coins before, they will walk you through the whole process. And as I, spoke with Kevin Demerit, the CEO of Lear Capital, just a few weeks ago here on the show, he's like, look, we are an education company first. We want to help people. And so you can work with them or not. They don't care. They want to help you. And at the end of the day, you need to be investing in precious metals, a tangible asset in your portfolio to protect your family. So give them a call. Just get on the phone, call them 1-800-613-3557. And they have a free guide, a precious metals guide that they'll send right to your house so you can sit down with your spouse, your loved ones, and talk about it and see if it's a fit for you. Maybe taking $1,000 in U.S. dollars that are going to continue to lose value and transferring that over to precious metals. They can help you do that. Or just go to the website learredacted.com and you can receive up to $15,000 in free bonus metals with a qualified purchase. Ask them about that on the phone as well. 1-800-613-3557.
All right. Well, our next guest was fined $28,000 for walking in the woods in Nova Scotia. Remember when the communists that run Canada banned hiking over fears that sneakers might cause wildfire? Yes, it's true. Canada is run by jackasses. Well, our next guest posted this video and it's gone absolutely viral. Watch.
Hey everybody, Jeff Evely here, out in Nova Scotia on Mountain Road in Coxheath. And as you can see behind me, this is the woods. But over here, this is not the woods. This is the Department of Natural Resources, where the conservation officers work, who issue $25,000 fines for going in the woods.
Unbelievable. Well, Jeff Evely was peaceful protesting Nova Scotia's ban on hiking, arguing that they allow workers to drive around in ATVs through the forest, but not hiking. ATVs emit exhaust, they have potential sparks, cause wildfires. They're 100 times more likely to start a fire than a man in sneakers with a dog on a walk. Jeff Evely is a People Party's candidate. He was the man slapped with that fine. There he is. There's his candidates page there on the People's Party of Canada, and Jeff joins us now. Jeff, wow. Did you have any idea that this thing was going to blow up the way it did? Or I think it's because when I see something like this, I think it's a reflection. So many people are so fed up with their government stepping on just their basic values. I want to take a hike, and you're going to slap me with a fine. And I think that the reason it hit 5 million or 6 million views is just because of that outrage, would you say?
Yeah, I think that people have had some time to really digest what's happened over the last few years, especially in light of COVID here in Canada. And the more these people open their mouths and jump the shark, the more people wake up to the fact that there's something really wrong with our governments in Canada.
Well, when you think about how the Canadian government used hate science in order to vilify the anti-vax, the unvaccinated, I don't want to use that term, the unvaccinated, they tortured those people and then used fake math models. And so it's crazy to think that you can't do something as healthy and natural as walking in the woods, and yet they're going to persecute you if you don't take their pharmaceuticals. These are just blaring juxtapositions, don't you think?
No, they seem to be pretty consistent. I mean, we have to pay for things that we don't need, that don't necessarily help and often harm our health, to line the pockets of the donor class. This is just another one of those things that used to be accessible to everybody, that's good for everybody, that's certainly good for mental health and physical fitness, that you just can't access without paying anymore. And I think perhaps even a more salient example than the ATV riding would be the fact that the campgrounds are still open. I was actually on a campground just recently while we were traveling around with James O'Keefe. He was in the neighborhood. And I took a walk out and did a video just to show, like, this is absolutely a wooded area. And while we were stopped, we saw one of the campers flick their cigarette into the woods. It seems to be the case that as long as somebody's making money off it, then you can have it. But you're not free to simply walk into the woods, as is your birthright.
So can you explain, like, what are they saying is the reasoning for you not being allowed to hike in the woods?
Well, they have yet to say that because we are taking them to court. The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms has stepped in to provide my legal defense. And on that note, I'll say I'm not taking any donations myself. So if you want to help me win back our freedoms, you can donate to jccf.ca. We actually were supposed to have had the record, as in all of the information that the government used in coming to its decision to ban everybody from the woods, the justification for that, but we haven't seen that yet. So it looks like the government lawyers have some work to do in pulling together these documents, and I am skeptical that they even exist.
So
there's not.
How are they justifying the fine?
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, I was going to say. There's no like long-standing Canadian tradition of like hiking with Roman candles and like lit torches and stuff like that. That's not what they're going after. It's just normal hiking, right? I understand that's how you do it in Canada too.
Yeah, it's severely normal hiking. Taking my dog for a walk out in the woods. A lot of the stuff that you'll encounter online, or even, I guess, kind of the commentary that's coming out of the political class, is that, it's not you. It's all these dumb people who will flick their cigarette butts, but we don't ban driving to prevent people from driving drunk. And 88% of Nova Scotians don't even smoke. The issue here, I think, is one of whether or not these decisions are constitutional. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada is part of our Constitution, and they may interfere with my liberties when it is justified to do so, but such interventions must be logically connected to the goal. There is no logical connection between banning my sneakers from the woods and preventing wildfires, and also they must be minimally impairing, so proportional, and there doesn't appear to have been any consideration given to any lesser measures that might have been more minimally impairing to my liberties. They went all the way to a full-scale ban from the woods.
It's crazy. And I mean, do you think there's some level of shirking the responsibility for keeping the public safe? Because I assume that you pay your taxes to have firefighters who can then mitigate this when it does happen, and they can't catch everything. My son was riding his bike through the woods just a few days ago, and we have forest fire risk in Colorado too. It's a dry season, and he saw some teenagers making a fire in the woods, and obviously that's not within the bounds of the rules, but people just do. And there's always going to be some idiots or some young people, right? And so that's the fire department's responsibility.
Well, I wouldn't put the blame on the average firefighter, but there has been a lot of noise around senior management. The Halifax Firefighters Union actually released a statement after the last time this happened, which was in 2023. We had a full-scale ban on entering the woods during the Nova Scotia wildfires, and at that time, I thought that was an overreach, and I submitted judicial review at that time. But the judge told me that because I wasn't fined, I didn't have standing. We can't stand on our rights alone in a Canadian court. There has to be money involved. So when they came back this time, I knew I had to go take the fine just to get it in front of a judge to have it reviewed in light of our charter rights. But they've, they keep making these public statements, like I said, and jumping the shark. And one of the most recent ones, after they had 50 millimeters of rain in one area of the province, they came out and they said, yeah, we had rain, but there still are some areas that are pretty dry, and we don't have the resources to fight these fires. So we're going to have to keep you locked down. And so they're saying openly that their failure to plan and lead and manage these responses constitutes an emergency on the part of the rest of us. So their inability to accept responsibility for the duties with which they've been charged by the public is entirely the reason. They're even saying so, that they have the rest of us locked down right now.
Well, thank you for reframing that question. I didn't mean to blame fire departments or firefighters, but yes, a general municipal responsibility seems to be being shirked.
Well, we had David Creighton on the show just a few minutes ago, journalist from out of Ottawa, and he said this is like tyranny. This is like COVID 2.0, really, with like lockdowns and the tyrannical government. Do you agree with that?
The parallels are striking. The first video I did, actually, that did go viral, at least by Canadian standards. I think it's at about 900,000 views right now. But I kind of did like a funny video mocking the measures that they had put in place. The first day that I showed up in the park by my house, where they had certain areas of the park that were taped off because those gravel pathways are the woods, and these other gravel pathways that I was allowed to walk on apparently are not the woods. So it actually goes further, I think, than people want to admit. It's not that they're even telling us that we have to stay out of the forest. Like, their idea of what constitutes the forest is the park in the park right next to my house. I can't even walk my dog over there. So just the arbitrarity and the caprice, I believe Christopher Hitchens once said, are central to the essence of totalitarianism, and that's what we're living under right now.
Right. Yeah, it's like Governor Cuomo. You can have a restaurant. What was it?
It was like they called it the COVID meal or something during COVID. You couldn't have a bar open unless there was also food.
Yeah.
So these bars were serving like chips and salsa, and then they were just throwing it all away. It's just
so
nonsensical.
Arbitrary. Jeff, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thanks for your bravery of trying to walk in the woods. Oh my gosh. and then getting slapped with this fine in order to teach us all about the tyranny. But I think your message is resonating loud and clear, so I think it's carrying a lot of weight. And thank you for sharing your story with us, Jeff. We appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, coming up on the show, Dr. Michael Salla is going to be here because yet more evidence is growing by the day that the federalization of Washington, D.C. by the Metro Police under President Trump does in fact involve cleaning out those underground satanic networks and petty crime homelessness on the streets. So there's tunnels underground where they were like manipulate members of Congress and other things in these satanic rituals. Yeah, more evidence of that coming to light. We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, microplastics infiltrating every part of our lives. Scientists estimate we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every single week. Disgusting. Through our food, water, even the air we breathe. One study found that plastic particles in 100% of human lung samples. Nobody is safe from this exposure. But even if you try to avoid packaged foods, you're still being exposed. But there is a way you can actually fight back because your gut can actually help you fight back. Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nutrition is a potent ally in this toxic world. It's packed with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi, proven to break down BPA, helping you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just support digestion. It helps protect your cells, your brains, your hormones, and your future. Your body was never designed to handle plastic, but your gut was designed to protect you. You just have to give it the right tools. Right now, you can get 25% off with my code REDACTED at the link below, right there on your screen. If you go to mybrightcore.com/redacted, you'll get 25% off. But the best part is that if you actually get on the phone and call 1-888-404-6312, you'll get 50% off and free shipping right now. That's right. So if you just call them, you'll get 50% off. If you're brave enough to get on the phone, you remember the phones? Remember what those used to be? Actually have a conversation with a human being. Well, they'll give you 50% off and free shipping. So go to mybrightcore.com/redacted or just call them 888-404-6312. That's the place to do it. Well, yet more evidence is growing by the day that the federalization of Washington, D.C. Metro Police by President Trump does, in fact, involve cleaning out the underground satanic networks as well as petty crime and homelessness on the streets. Turns out that, as we've reported on this over the past couple of months here on the show, that these underground satanic tunnels underneath Washington, D.C., and actually members of the House of Representatives have actually called these out, and they've lost their jobs for telling the truth about what's actually down here, what's actually going on underneath D.C. It turns out these satanic networks would compromise public officials by using these underground SRA rituals, thereby impacting the performance of federal institutions, which basically constitutes treason. And Trump knows about it. And the inner circle knows about it. That's why they're doing this. And by the way, the mayor of D.C. just admitted that crime has now plummeted in D.C. thanks to the federalization and the National Guard troops that are in Washington, D.C. Crime has all but disappeared thanks to the U.S. military being there. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Dr. Michael Salla was the man that broke the story originally. He broke it wide open a number of weeks ago here on our show and now has more evidence. More evidence is emerging that he was right. In fact, Doctor, welcome back to the show. Great to see you. Oh, it sounds like you're muted, Doc. We good now?
Yes, I was muted, so thanks
no
for
worries.
having me back.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. We always have our guests mute their microphones before they join us because we have other guests live on the show. So they might hear like a cat in the background or a dog in the background. So that's us asking you to mute. So thank you. But I do want to bring your attention to this new headline that just came out about military lawyers handling civilian crimes in Washington, D.C. And I think, to your point, this is further evidence that this is exactly, you cannot rely on the Satanists that are running Washington, D.C. to prosecute their own, can you? You need the military to basically step in Washington and now handle the caseload from these people.
Well, that's right. Yes. I mean, what we have here is a situation where these satanic networks have been operating for decades, compromising officials from all branches of government, including the judiciary, which is very, very important, because that means when it comes to the arrest of Satanists that are apprehended in these underground enclaves, which can extend as far as 10 miles underground, in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere around the country, that when it comes to trying these officials, you can't do it through the normal court system because a lot of these judges are compromised themselves. So the normal courts cannot operate. And in such a situation, that's where the military courts come in. And also another consideration for why these Satanists being arrested are being subjected to some kind of military judicial process is that the punishment in the civilian courts for sedition or treason is a maximum of 20 years imprisonment and a fine or both. Whereas in the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, people that are convicted of sedition, treason are sentenced to death. And now normally the USMJ, that does not apply to civilians unless martial law has been declared, or as in the situation currently in the United States, when normal judicial courts can't function. Now, of course, they can function at a superficial level in dealing with petty crime and so forth, but as far as trying individuals that have been compromised, which includes members of the judiciary, then I think you can make a very strong case that civilian courts should not be trying these because some of the judges themselves may be compromised and may be, in fact, under investigation. So I think that's why the military courts are being secretly used, convened under some kind of special tribunal, and which is why I believe these JAG officers have been summoned to Washington, D.C. to begin helping in the prosecution of so-called petty crime. But I think that's just a cover for these deeper satanic crimes.
That's amazing. And this isn't being reported. I mean, you have JAG officers coming into Washington, D.C. to handle the amount of crime that they're having to now handle outside of the, like, basically the Satanists who are running Washington, D.C. This is an incredible story. PJ Pickett in our chat just said, what's scary about this, but it's like they're like sort of putting it right in our faces. Like they're sort of flaunting this. It's like kind of out there in the open in a lot of ways. And now we actually have the military there to stop it.
Well, yes, the military are, I think, the only branch where you have officials running it who have been thoroughly screened and vetted and have no real ties to these satanic networks. And so that's why there is this ongoing campaign to clean out the satanic networks, not just in the Washington, D.C. area, but also other areas in the United States where you have the same networks operating, compromising public officials and the judiciary too. So really the civilian courts are not the way to prosecute Satanists who have been apprehended. And the military tribunals that have been, I believe, secretly set up, that's the way to proceed. And really, in terms of giving out justice, I think the justice can only be achieved through these very stringent penalties that you find in the Uniform Code of Military Justice rather than in civilian courts.
And we've been talking about this in terms of the Masonic order, right? And maybe you can educate our audience a little bit if they're new to this or they missed your appearance on our show a couple of weeks ago. Maybe you can lay out sort of the pentagram description and describe just how insidious this is.
Sure, yes. Well, we have an inverted pentagram in the design of Washington, D.C., but it's a broken pentagram, not a intact pentagram. And that actually has more occult significance because it's an invitation for the devil or Satan to come in. And so in the middle of that pentagram, its major axis is on 16th Street, Washington, D.C., and it goes directly from the White House right up 16th Street, and it runs through something called the House of the Temple, which is the center for Scottish Rite Freemasonry in the United States, or at least one of the most important centers for Freemasonry. Now, Freemasonry itself has what is publicly known to be 33-degree levels. So a Mason can progress through doing public works and good deeds all the way up to the 33rd degree. And they can be, as far as they know, part of an organization that promotes philanthropy, and various projects to kind of uplift humanity, deal with poverty, and help the society evolve in a positive direction. But at the 33 degree level, that's where there is a secret initiation into higher levels if you pass a test. And the test is essentially the Freemason is presented a copy of the Bible, and if they desecrate it as they are asked to do in some way, whether spit on it or something else, then they are told that they have passed the test and that they can now proceed to higher orders. And in those higher orders, 34, 35, and so forth, they are told about the secret extraterrestrial origins of the bloodline ruling families, told about the history of giants, the secrets of the anti-gravity free energy technologies, and so forth. If that Freemason chooses not to spit on the Bible and says, no, I worship this, then they told, you've passed, congratulations, you're a Freemason, 33 degree Freemason for life. And so they go away thinking that, well, hey, they are at the highest level of Freemasonry, but it's not.
So, yeah, the highest levels are demonic. That's crazy. That's crazy to think about. Hopefully this message is getting out there and people are aware that if they get to the 33 and they don't spit on the Bible, that they're hitting a wall, basically. They're not going to go past that. Can you talk about, because for some people who don't know what's going on here in the Satanism in Washington, D.C., it's large and it's been well documented. As you pointed out to me offline, you and I were chatting, you said this was well documented by journalist John DeCamp in his book called The Franklin Cover-Up. What happened here? People might not even know this story that happened in Washington, D.C.
Sure. Well, John DeCamp, he was a journalist and also a state senator for Nebraska, and he uncovered evidence, extensive evidence, that young boys from Boys Town, Nebraska, were being taken to Washington, D.C., and that they were being used in these kind of like honeypot operations against sitting members of Congress or high-level public officials, that whatever happened between those young boys and those public officials were taped, and that those officials were then manipulated or blackmailed into doing whatever it was that these Satanists wanted. Now, these boys were basically well-trained through SRA practices, and that is that they were often subjected to a ceremony where one of them was essentially cannibalized, killed and cannibalized, and they were commanded to eat the heart and so forth, and different body parts, and that's how they would be conditioned to do everything that was asked of them when they were in these kind of honeypot operations against members of Congress. So John DeCamp documented this. I mean, there was clear evidence that this was happening, and no one really kind of pursued what he uncovered.
It's just like Washington, D.C., isn't it? I mean, we've had HHS whistleblowers and others, like Tara Rodas and others, calling out how the Biden administration was facilitating the massive sex trafficking of children. They were literally facilitating it at the Department of Homeland Security. And we had whistleblowers in the federal government calling it out and in front of Congress. And what happened? Nothing. The Biden administration did nothing about it. Fortunately, the Trump administration, and at least under the FBI and Kash Patel, they've been going after these sex traffickers rounding them up by the hundreds. So at least, I'm hopeful anyway about that. That's unbelievable. That's called The Franklin Cover-Up, if anyone wants to read that book by John DeCamp. Any final thoughts on this, Dr. Sala? Like, when you talk about how are we going to see any of these people, these like sort of perp walked, in front of court and proceedings, these people who have been leading a lot of these Satanist rituals and trying to compromise members of Congress and others?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I don't know. I think that the White Hats, the Earth militaries, forces that are involved in these kinds of operations, and as far as I know from my sources, they are being helped by positive extraterrestrials as well, because the Satanists themselves, they directly worship these negative extraterrestrials. Some call them Draco reptilians. And so the White Hats, they understand the depth of the kind of like corruption and how long it's been going on for. So they're cleaning it out. So right now, Washington, D.C. is the target. I believe that as they move forward and succeed in cleaning out Washington, D.C., that they will start doing the same in other major cities, and we'll probably see the same pattern: National Guard, judge advocate generals coming in to help the district attorney of that area to deal with the so-called petty crime, but really behind the scenes they're dealing with these Satanists. Now, whether they will reveal that at any time, I don't know. I mean, hopefully they do, but then again, the public really hasn't been prepared for this. I mean, there are films like Eyes Wide Shut, which kind of helps prepare people for the truth of just how deep this corruption goes and how it involves high-level officials. But as far as the general public being prepared, I don't think they really are. So it may well be that the White Hats just kind of keep this all done in secret, and will move ahead with their agenda, which I think is to reveal the truth about many subjects that have been suppressed for a long time. And I think we have a lot to look forward to, because this is actually a major cleanup operation. And once it reaches its end, then life in the United States will be changed forever, and it'll be much easier for the forces of good to really bring about policies that help all Americans prosper and experience abundance.
I hope you're right. I like that. I like the positivity. I'm a glass half full kind of person as well. Protect your children, as someone said in our chat room. These sick people are everywhere, so we need to protect our children. So hopefully, what we're seeing in Washington, D.C. right now with this eradication of crime is a template maybe we'll see in other places. Dr. Michael Salla, he writes over at exopolitics.org. You can read all of his great works. He's got incredible books as well. Please go to Amazon, check out his books under Dr. Michael Salla on Amazon. I've read many of them. They're just eye-opening, absolutely eye-opening. Great to have you back on the show, as always.
Thanks for having me, Clay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're back. Sorry on what's happening. We apologize, but welcome back. We're going to get to some of your super chats here. We know the audio can be a little funky here for like a few seconds.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Biblical. Rumblemania says. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I see all your birthday wishes. I want to say thank you so much. I can't say that enough. It's very touching, and I very much appreciate it. We're gonna take a look at. Oh, I can't believe you're 47. That's nice of you to say. That's what you're supposed to say. I appreciate it very much.
Happy $47. Thank you for your $47 super chat. Happy 47th birthday, Mike.
Thank you. I thought I was turning 48, so I always get it 1 year wrong. I always forget exactly what I'm turning. So yes, 1978, 47. Yes.
I am 48.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're a little under 2 years apart. Clayton will be 49 in December.
December 31st, New
And we
Year's
don't usually
Eve.
do a show on his birthday, but mine falls usually right in, Virgo season. This is when we're all working. We all go back to school. That's what Virgos love. We love routine, but then we don't have a lot of space to celebrate our birthdays. So yeah, it's a busy day. I appreciate you celebrating it with me. Before we go, we're going to take some of your super chats and then say goodbye for the afternoon. But we want to tell you about our friends over at Chapter, because millions of seniors are on the wrong Medicare plan and most don't even know it. And in fact, there have been many of these sort of Medicare choosing companies that have been sued by the Department of Justice because they were found out to be steering seniors towards plans with the biggest kickbacks. That's why we partnered with Chapter, because they decidedly do not do that at all. Chapter doesn't work for the government or big insurance. They work for you. They're the only advisors that compare every Medicare plan nationwide to find what's best for you. They'll even help if you're hit with wrongful medical bills. So that's real advocacy. Man, there's a lot of pronunciation I'm having trouble with today. They've saved the average senior $1,100 per year. In fact, one of our good friends used Chapter and is saving thousands of dollars going forward. And the best part is that this is a free service for our audience. You can review your options in under 20 minutes. So it only takes you 20 minutes to make a phone call. Call them at 202-655-5811 to connect with the only Medicare advisor that we trust here at Redacted. You'll be so glad you did. And in fact, many in our audience say they wish they'd called sooner. Or you can go to askchapter.org/redacted and get started there. Again, call the number on your screen or go to askchapter.org/redacted. I have too much energy. Some of these, multi-syllable words are really,
it's hard for you.
I'm like,
it's hard for you.
I'm buzzed today. You know why? Is because Starbucks gives you a free drink on your birthday, and I got a venti flat white. So I'm a little boyoyoing. I shouldn't have done that. But, they're like, oh, you can have whatever you want. And I was like, well, then I'll get the biggest. So I shouldn't have done that. I should not have done that.
I miss my coffee, I'll be honest with you. I've been on a 5-day fast.
Yeah, I know that.
Today is day 5 of my fast.
Yeah.
And I've lost 6 pounds now.
And you know what else I was thinking of having, because it's my birthday, is maybe I'll have a beer later, but Clayton won't be having a beer on my birthday either because he's on this cleanse.
Yeah.
So I'll have a beer by myself. How tragic. What a pathetic birthday I'm having. Back to school night.
You are one pathetic loser.
I know. A beer by myself. There's this beer that I had when I went to a line dancing bar a couple months ago called Howdy American. Let me know in the chat if you've had it. I quite like it. It's a Colorado beer. It's like a lager. It's like, like any kind of Coors, Yuengling kind of.
It's called... I'm pulling it up here. Can you take my laptop at all?
Yeah, if you haven't had it, now we carry it in our supermarkets. We have our own version of Kroger. It's called King Super, but it's owned by Kroger, and they had it. So yeah, I got myself. I might just have a Howdy American because I am an American. It's my birthday.
Let's see if I can cut to this here.
Are you able?
I'm trying to cut here. How do I cut? I don't think anyone's here anymore.
I'm here. What do you need to cut to?
Oh, he wants to take
my
his laptop.
Can you take that shot?
Let's see.
Yeah, there you go. So that's Howdy American beer.
Yeah, they're not a show sponsor, but I like them. And sometimes I do enjoy a beer from time to time on special occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I get some super chats here. Let's see. Put this one up here. This is from... let me take the main shot again here. Main. There we go. Sorry, yeah, it's hard to.
Oh, redacted. Thanks for having the courage to go where no man and woman has gone before. Keep up the great work, and thank you for all you do. Captain Kirk is so proud. Happy birthday, Natalie. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have we ever heard of, Ziada says, have we heard of Tom Cohen? Not off the top of my head, but I know I've met a lot of people in my life. Have a beer
Someone
cleanse.
says, take her on a nice date, man. We did go to Korean barbecue over the weekend for my
Yeah, we did a
birthday
big
because we
birthday
knew that
weekend.
today would be manic. So, yeah, a Korean barbecue was very exciting for me as well. I also found a restaurant that maybe I'll go to next week that serves jampong in Denver. So I was thinking of going there for lunch, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, we had a big birthday celebration like over the weekend, so we did that. And yeah, Korean barbecue was all sorts of delicious meat on a hot stone. It was delicious. Let's see. Do we have any more super chats? I'm trying to. King Super.
King Super.
Blue Moon.
And
Oh, yeah.
that's
You like-
somebody who knows how to spell it.
Blue Moon.
Blue Moon for the win.
One beer is not beer. You need 20.
Well, I have said this many times. I rarely, if ever, drink, but sometimes. Oh, I like a Guinness too. Guinness. Yeah.
By the way,
Guinness is
when-
probably my favorite. I like dark beers.
Yeah, day 5 of the fast. Yeah, so I'm ending my fast tonight, my final thing tonight, and I'll be done, and then be back tomorrow, and then I'll slowly I'll have like some bone broth or whatever tomorrow, you know.
Exciting.
Yeah, exciting. No beer, though. But over the weekend, I'm going to have a beer.
Okay.
I'm going to have a beer.
You'll have a Yangling. We're going to
yes.
Clayton's 30th high school reunion.
Can you believe
this
it?
weekend.
30th high school reunion. Yeah, I'm going to have Yingling, and I'm going to have steamed crabs. I'm probably going to have a Philly cheesesteak.
Okay.
Because I have to. Got to represent.
You're going to undo that whole 5 day
I'll put like all the 6 pounds that I just lost, whoop, right back on. God.
Somebody says, 47, where's the gray hair? I think I'm just lucky. My grandmother died in her 80s and was just salt and pepper. She just didn't, she didn't gray. So I have a few, but I don't. Can we zoom in? I'll show you my grays. I'm happy to.
We can't zoom.
Oh, okay. And from time to time, I notice, and when you take my single shot, I'll have like one wiry gray sticking out, but I'm proud of it. I'm keeping them.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Speaking of, we were in Scotland. We discovered a beer that we had, Bellhaven's Best.
Oh, I did like that one too.
So good because it's like a nitrogen style, like almost like a Guinness style. Yeah, Bellhaven's.
Yeah.
How did I manage to bag Natalie?
He's just lucky.
Just lucky. Totally lucky. Well, somebody's got to do it. Right? I mean, you can't let her out there just alone in the world. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
Clayton, put in the work, brother. Give her a massage and cook her a meal. I did. I cooked a huge meal last night. But tonight we got all this craziness with the kids. So I cooked like 3 times this week. Didn't I? Yeah, 3 times.
And he offered to do breakfast for the kids, but I already had it done this morning. I do this thing. This is not a recipe show, but we're fooling around, so I'll tell you. I once had leftover crescent rolls. David's had these, and I wrap egg, bacon, and cheese in these crescent rolls, and the kids go crazy for it. It's a great way to get them to eat their protein. Remember that, David?
Oh yeah, so good.
Yeah, so I had those already made this morning. The kids
Someone
loved
said
it.
if you come to Denver, go to Union. What was it? It scrolled by too fast. Union something. You see the homeless people.
Oh, I don't.
Union
We don't
Station.
go into Denver. Really.
Yeah, no, I avoid.
We try to avoid.
We
that.
try to avoid the city as much as we can. So, yeah, I'm getting 35. I'm blaming my kids for the grays. Louis Belcher says.
Yeah, dang them.
Did I have any side effects like anger issues? No, I mean just you definitely like don't have the energy, so you're not doing like a heavy workout, and you're not doing like a sauna or something like that. So you're not doing like a heavy crazy workout or something. So, but. Anyway,
Someone says, "Stop the BS and get on with it." This is it. We're
this
done.
is the end of the show.
That's why we're BSing.
5 full segments today in this show. I don't know if you just tuned in late.
Yeah.
Z, QTY5TY62. Stop the bullshit and get on with it.
We did
Well, we're going
already.
to stop the bullshit. So Z just ended the show for everyone. See, someone's got to always ruin the fun. But thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out on this Thursday with us. We really appreciate it. Again, we'll be off on Labor Day. because you should be. But we will be back with shows on Tuesday, and then back to our winter schedule, back to our normal fall schedule. We'll be here Monday through Thursday, live streaming with all of you guys, covering the news that the mainstream media largely ignores. So thank you for being a part of our community and subscribing, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday, everybody. Have a great night.
You okay?
Drink another one.
Happy birthday, Natalie.
Thank you.
Thanks for the graphic.